cover an overview of the packaging scheme and talk about who has endorsed this new scheme that we are implementing, who the contacts are for your various processes, what exactly goes into this new packaging strategy so you can understand how it was before and how it is changing now, and the timing for implementing this. Jesse Lipcon and his staff have approved this new strategy. Philippe Robert, who is the head of the Workstation business segment, as well as Edmundo Martinez from manufacturing, Danny Gez and Tom Yates from Europe, Ken Goldner, John Montija from the Americas, and Royce Matlock from AP have all bought into this new strategy which we're implementing for the announcement that we're having July 17th. Many of you have asked what the processes are for different changes that might need to be implemented. If you have questions about pricing and packaging, the person that you're going to want to contact is the product manager. And I do have a slide with the names of who those contacts are. For technical questions, it's the same business as usual process that we've had in the past. We have a product support organization under Joe Bitto, and you would continue to contact them. If you need a waiver, for instance, somebody wants to buy the system packaged a little bit differently than we have, or some various customer requirement, you'll work through the product operations people for your specific area. For the Americas, that's John Montijan. For Europe, Tom Yates. For AP, Annie Chan. They will in turn notify the product manager, as we as well would like to be able to track what is going on for business purposes. The product managers are Kelly Kowaleski for the Outstation 200 4/100, Keith Bellamy for the 4/166 and 4/233. I'm listing Marcia Saylor right now for the Alpha Station 250. She has just hired a new person. His name is Vijay, who just started yesterday, and he will be picking that up. But for right now, feel free to contact Marcia, and Connie Doyle, who will be presenting later on for Alcor, the Alpha Station 600. Why are we making these changes? Well, we want to simplify the way we do business. We've had a lot of feedback from customers and our channels partners that digital is very difficult to do business with, that they have difficulty working with the SOC, keeping track of all our different part numbering schemes. We're a global world that we live in, and many of them have to do international business. And so what we have done is listen to them, and as a result, we have implemented now a consistent worldwide ordering scheme. In the past, we had a separate set of part numbers for the US than we did for everybody else. Now, the same rules will work worldwide. We tried to implement this in a way that would introduce minimal change, because we're not out to create confusion, wreak havoc, or anything like that. We just wanted to modify things that would have the least impact on people in order to make the strategy work. And our goal with implementing this has been to make it channels friendly. And we feel that we've accomplished that through the simplification of the ordering process and our new ordering menus that we'll be going through later on today. They've really streamlined the SOC. They make it very easy to understand when you're using various option slots and so forth and so on, when you're required to put in various options, so that people will understand what they need to buy in order to have a minimal usable configuration, as well as if they want to enhance that configuration. And finally, we've come up with the new Advantage packages, which are linked to new marketing campaigns that we will be beginning to launch in this quarter. These are tied to the technical initiative, which is led by Peter Thayer, and we'll be having a whole host of programs that will have direct mail campaigns with key partners, key software partners, that will take advantage of these configurations that are linked to the CAD space, graphic information system, solids modeling, and you'll see those as we go through this presentation, and how with one part number you have easy ordering to be able to fulfill these marketing campaigns and hopefully boost our volumes of orders. Let's talk a little bit about this worldwide ordering scheme. One thing that we did was we are phasing out the -AA variants, which were specific to the U.S. What this means now is that all of our power supplies, when they ship, will be set to 240 volts. All the user has to do when he goes to plug in his system is there'll be a tape across the back, and they'll say check the voltage requirement, and if they require 120 volt, then there's a switch, just like a light switch in the back. They just flick to set it to the proper voltage. The reason it is set to 240 volts is, one, this is consistency for a worldwide scheme, and two, that if we had set it to 120 instead of 240 and somebody had inadvertently powered on the system in a 240 volt environment, they would risk blowing up the power supply, which is not something that we would want to happen. So this is a safety precaution. So you should be aware of this in case any calls happen to come in where people say, hey, I've got the system and it won't power on. First thing to ask them is, did they set the voltage to the proper setting? Keyboards and power cords now must be ordered as a separate line item for both package systems and SBBs. In Europe, they were accustomed to this, as well as certain parts of the AP region. But for the US especially, this is something new, where before we had packaged that in, now it is a separate line item. To ease the ordering process, we have bundled in the power cord with the US keyboard. So there is an LK471 and 461 part numbers. The 461 is your VMS keyboard. The 471 is your standard PC keyboard. The -AA variant will contain both the keyboard and the US power cord to ease the ordering process for the US. We recognize that in the other geographies around the world that there are a number of different power cords that could be matched with various keyboards, and so it did not make sense to do that type of bundling with the other geographies. But for the US, we did make this a little bit easier. English user documentation is included with all systems, so if you require a translation, then you order that as a line item. Something new is that our SBBs, the system building blocks, will require memory, a disk, and graphics, okay? The memory we had always required before, you now must get that disk and graphics. We are marketing our workstations as workstations. What that means now is that graphics will ship with every workstation that we sell, whereas in the past we allowed people to configure them as servers without graphics. Now they will require the graphics. And package systems require a monitor, whereas before that had been optional. We will go through this again as we talk about how things had been before and how they are now. Okay, so the only way you can order a system without a monitor is to get a system building block. System building blocks, as we know them today, include your powered enclosure with your CPU, a floppy drive on all systems except our entry-level AlphaStation 200 4/100, the operating system, some user docks, and a 120-volt power cord in the US. And we required people to order memory and the disk. Okay, that's how we had been doing it previously. What we're doing now is the CPU, still your powered enclosure with CPU, the floppy, still the same floppy situation as before, and your operating system, user docks. We are now bundling in a mouse because our product is a workstation, so they will all come with mice. And on all of our products, what's new is we're now including a CD-ROM. We've received a lot of feedback from customers that are using our products. All of our media comes on CD, and this is viewed as a very positive way to enhance the product line. Something else that we have changed is the requirements of what options you must select with the system building block. Memory and disk, that's the same as before. You must now have graphics, you must now have a keyboard and power cord. Okay? So let's go through a sample order. I took an AlphaStation 250. We had a meeting recently with EDS Graphics, and this actually is what might be a typical configuration for somebody who's running Unigraphics on an AlphaStation 250. That's a real sweet spot application for us. They would order the AlphaStation 250. I do have a typo there. It's a /266 SBB with a CD-ROM, floppy, digital Unix. They would put 128 meg of memory. Okay. A 1 gigabyte disk is a system disk, and then a 2 gigabyte disk as a user disk. That second disk is optional. It's not required, but for this particular user, the way that they're utilizing Unigraphics, this is how they might want to configure the system. The E3, ZLXP E3 24-plane graphics, because this is wireframe application. The new L series that we are actually just announcing are for solids modeling, but this is a wireframe 3D application, and so they would be interested in this particular card, your keyboard, and they're selecting a 21-inch monitor. Now let's talk about our new package systems that we're calling Advantage packages. When we talked about package systems previously, they were your SBB with bundled memory, disk, keyboard, and power cord in the US. Somebody had to select graphics, and they had the option of selecting a monitor. What we're doing now is we're taking the new SBB that we just talked about, we're bundling memory, disk, and graphics. Okay, before the customer would select which graphics, we have now fine-tuned the package system to a particular market, and we have selected the appropriate graphics for that particular application, and then we're requiring them to select either a 17 or 21-inch monitor and the keyboard and power cord. So they're getting a better system that includes a CD-ROM and the mouse. Everything is in there, and we're just changing the process slightly. A sample order might be for an AlphaStation 200 product, where they were running a CAD, a particular 2D CAD application. Our AlphaStation 200 4/166 is very popular for these types of applications. And so they would pick an Advantage configuration, and then all they would need to do is add the keyboard and power cord and select a monitor. 17-inch happens to be popular with the AlphaStation 200s, but they could also select a 21-inch if they preferred that. Well, what are these packages? Let's talk about the Advantage packages. Just looking right over here on the left-hand side, what we have are 3D CAD for solids modeling, 2D CAD, case, and multimedia application packages. These tie in directly to the technical initiative marketing campaign programs that will be going on. And so for our products, for the 4/100, we have 2D CAD packages that are prepackaged, one part number, in Unix and VMS. We have case packages as well in Unix and VMS, and a multimedia Unix package. For the 4/166, we have a Unix 3D package with L1 graphics. For 2D CAD, we have Unix, VMS, and NT. And then for the 4/233, again, a 3D CAD Unix package and then Unix, VMS, and NT 2D packages. Below the dotted line, we have a new category, which we'll talk about in a minute, called the entry configuration, which is available on the 4/100 only. It's replacing the SBB. It's a new type of package configuration. And then our 4/166 and 4/233 SBBs for Unix, VMS, and NT. In the high performance line, we have a similar type of diagram. Again, we have 3D CAD configurations with L2 graphics. On the 250 4/266, these exist with Unix and NT. For the Alcor, the Workstations 600 product, it exists with Unix. We have a 2D EDA package for the Alcor for Unix and VMS, and a 2D GIST package for the 250 with Unix and VMS. And then they each have SBBs for all three operating systems. So again, just to go back to that sample order under an Advantage package, if somebody had a 2D CAD application where the performance requirements pointed them in the direction of a 4/166, and their application was, say, Unix, they would come right over here. Here's your 4/166, 2D CAD, and they would go look up the particular part number. I would have put that on the slide, but there just wasn't enough room to make it visible on here. If you look in the sales update article, which is already online, then you'll be able to see a chart that looks just like this and has all the part numbers in these particular boxes. And then on the next page, you can then take that part number and find the description of the contents for that. So then you would just pull that part number up. That would be your PB420-AP. You would add your keyboard and power cord, and then a monitor. And you'd be done, unless they wanted additional options like more memory, more disk, whatever. The entry configuration is a new category. It's a package system that includes a monitor. Okay? Just like what we've had before, it exists only on the Alpha Station 4/100, and it replaces the SBB. So what's included here is your powered enclosure with CPU, memory, disk, graphics, CD-ROM, and floppy on NT, your operating system, mouse, monitor, and then what is required is a keyboard and power cord. On July 17th, we'll be announcing a pricing breakthrough in the value line, a $49.95 system. There are two of these, one that's Unix and one that's NT. The digital Unix configuration is made possible by the next release of the Unix operating system, version 3.2c, which allows us to configure an entry configuration with 24 megabytes of memory. And so we have put together that package system with the 24 megabytes of memory, a half a gigabyte disk, digital Unix, ATI Mach 64 graphics, and a 15-inch color monitor, all under one part number. You add the keyboard and mouse, and it's $49.95. If somebody wanted Windows NT, they would get a similar type of configuration. It would be 16 megabytes of memory with the half gigabyte disk, the Windows NT operating system, ATI graphics, the 15-inch color monitor, plus a CD-ROM and a floppy. Not for the general public, but for our channels partners. As we've listened to their requirements, we have come up with a new distributor inventory SBB. This is an OS-less, operating system-less SBB, and it has a slightly different set of ordering rules than our customer orderable SBBs. What we have included in this particular SBB is the CPU, a CD-ROM, floppy, and a mouse. They are required to buy memory, disk, keyboard, and power cord. We are not requiring graphics one-for-one with each system. However, we do have ordering rules, which I'll get into a little bit later, that discuss how they have to package and ship the system to meet our requirements. You'll recognize these distributor SPBs because they have a different part numbering scheme. They're a PB part number. These are end-user, non-discountable, and orderable by distributors and resellers only. Okay? Distributors and resellers only, not for general consumption. Add-ons will be spared. The added value of the SPB from a distributor point of view is they will play the integrator. In fact, one thing that I should mention about our SPBs is because on our SPB we are playing the integrator, we will now charge slightly more for an SPB than we had in the past because we are building a custom configuration for our customers' requirements. When they go to a distributor, the distributor is playing that role and they will charge a built-in integration fee. So if you were to configure a package system out of an SPB, it will cost a little bit more than buying the actual package system. That is another incentive that we have built into this process to make it both channels friendly and to drive any business that comes directly through digital to our package systems. So just going back to the slide, all of the add-ons for the distributor SPBs are spared. Any add-ons for systems that we sell directly through digital are included with the system unless specified as spares. That is business as usual for digital.
Excuse me, is this beyond the minimum requirements that must be ordered? You mean add-ons beyond
That's right,
the
beyond the
basic
minimum
required
required,
memory?
correct.
So they have to add memory, they have to add
Right.
a disk,
Right.
and then additional memory, additional disks are spared.
That's spared.
Right.
If a distributor wants the system drop shipped to an end user customer, they would not use this part number?
That's
They would not
correct.
use this part number. They would use one of our customer orderable part numbers. What they are becoming, in effect, is stage 2 manufacturing, when you think about it. A flavor of that in that they are doing some of the integration themselves. They're integrating the operating system, they're integrating the graphics, they're integrating other add-on options, and then they ship a complete functioning system to the customer.
Is ordering a system disk a requirement under these distributor SPB part numbers? for
Yes.
fizz?
Yes, it is.
Then if it's being fizzed by manufacturing, we are integrating the operating system, is that correct?
No, what the business rule that Lisa will get into for the distributor packages is that the fizzing from volume manufacturing will be Unix only. And no operating system license will be included with that package as it ships to the distributor stocking. They will then buy the operating system packages as separate line items, inventory them separate, and match them with the inventory of hardware that they have in stock, and then ship to the end customer. They will do the reintegration of OpenVMS at the distributor site, if an additional fizz is required.
But they must order a disk for fizz.
They must order a disk for fizz, correct.
And that disk would be installed in the system. So if they're stocking the order and they don't know who the customer is going to be, what type of operating system at that point in time.
Everything goes out with Unix.
The Unix.
And then if the customer requirement is VMS, they fizz VMS onto there.
This has been a request from the distributor, it's not one that we have trumped up, in that they are asking to have fizz image disks, if you would, without the operating system licenses on the individual order, so that they could apply their inventory into a larger customer base than what would allow them to do so far.
Thank you.
These next two slides are the part numbers for the software packages that we've created for the distributors. There are two VMS packages, one for the AlphaStation 200 and 250, and one for the AlphaStation 600. They contain your VMS-based license, NAS 150, and Open3D for your graphics. And for Unix, again, it's two part numbers, one for the AlphaStation 200 and 250, one for the AlphaStation 600. In this case, they contain 4 items: your Unix base license, multimedia services runtime license, Open3D, and NAS 150. The ordering rules, we had sort of touched upon this a minute ago, but just to reiterate, the operating systems package and graphics must be ordered from digital and shipped with the system to the end user. So the distributor receives these things for stocking on the shelf, builds to customer requirements and integrates, and then they have a completed package. The system has to be fully integrated when shipped to the end user. No shipping of bits and pieces. That is a requirement by digital, that it must be a complete system, just as if we had shipped it ourselves. And our add-ons that we ship to distributors will be spared. They're not spared when they go to the customer. Everything is integrated. As part of the streamlining effort, we'll be phasing out some part numbers, and this is just a listing of those packages that will be going away. In order to ease the transition, we're keeping them active through Q1, and then they will go bye-bye just in case there are any orders in progress so that we don't halt the flow of fulfillment of orders. We will keep both going. So you'll use the old SOC for these part numbers and the new SOC for the new part numbers. And so I hope you guys are ready, because we'd like to have the systems all loaded, ready to go July 16th, so we can begin processing orders on the 17th. For the distributor part numbers, we're delaying this until August 1st, but for all of the other part numbers, July 16th, they should be ready to go in the system. We're on? Okay. While we're on break, a question did come up regarding the distributor packages. So I just wanted to clarify something on here. When we say that add-ons are spared, when we talk about memory and disk, that's additional memory and disk. There's a minimum of 32 megabytes of memory that must go on these systems. They're going to the distributor, as well as a disk that contains Unix. Those are integrated in the distributor SBB when it ships to that distributor. If they want to put add-on memory, an additional 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, whatever, megabytes of memory, that they buy in packages, not these types of packages, but little boxes of memory, and they put that on their shelf, and then they do the integration. But every distributor SBB that goes out the door will have a minimum of 32 megabytes of memory already installed by digital manufacturing in that box. It will also have a system disk installed in that box. If they want more disks, those will ship separately, okay? So, let's continue on. Let's talk about the new menus that we have. These are actually designed by our Vice President, Philippe Robert. And it's based on the types of menus that are used for the PC business unit, and they have a very streamlined approach. And so he came up with a similar version of that to be able to be used for the Workstation business segment. And it's based on feedback that he's received from customers and our channels partners and responded to that. And I'm sure that he'd be interested in your feedback as well. It ties in to what we had been talking about previously about having advantage packages, entry configurations, and SBBs. So if you look at the categories that we have here, they all map into the new type of SOC that we will have. The SOC chapter will have a beginning section with a photograph and a description of the product or products in that particular chapter. At the back of it, it will have the same type of system information with box diagrams, system characteristic information. But it's that middle section with your step 1 through N that we're replacing with this. And I don't know whether you can get that clearly. I've been told that my slides were crooked previously with the camera. But here's how it works. The top section, just looking at the very top of this, here we have a menu for the entry system, the Alpha Station 200 4/100 product. If you look up here, we have our operating systems, so Unix, NT, Unix and VMS, Unix and VMS, Unix, okay? Then you can look at how it maps into the types of package that you're interested in. We have our entry-level configurations, one for Unix and one for NT. We have Unix and VMS case packages, Unix and VMS CAD packages, and a Unix multimedia package, just as we had talked about previously. The part numbers for them are on the following line, what you can order. Okay? So in the case where there are multiple part numbers, follow according to what it says on top. The first one is Unix, so the first one over here is Unix. The second one is VMS, and there's VMS. These black boxes denote what is contained in the package. So if we're to take a look at, I'll just fix this, get a little bit on here. If we're to take a look at the Unix entry-level configuration, it has your CPU, the 100 megahertz CPU, already included, Unix operating system, 24 megabytes of memory, a 535 megabyte disk, ATI graphics, and by the way, the ATI graphics are only available on the Alpha Station 100, and a 15-inch color monitor, English user documentation. All of this is packaged into that entry-level configuration for Unix. In the next column over, looking at NT, it's the same as we had discussed in the overview presentation, where again, you have your CPU. This time you have a floppy and disk, the NT workstation license, 16 megabytes of memory. Again, a half a gigabyte drive, ATI graphics, your 15-inch color monitor, and English documentation. We have a case package. For the case package, we have our CPU, Unix or VMS, depending on which part number you select, 32 megabytes of memory, a gigabyte disk, ATI graphics, and English user documentation. And then in this particular case, if we were to follow this all the way down, because you notice there isn't a monitor, the customer would select one. Now, when we come down to the bottom section here, you'll notice that there are filled-in black circles. For each of those categories, it means you must choose one of them. So, it says keyboard, select one. You must select a keyboard. So you can select your LK471 for Unix, NT, or VMS. And for VMS, you have a choice of the 471 or the 461. And we do have a note that's down here that the AA variant of the keyboard does contain a US power cord. The second line is the power cord. If you are ordering the AA variant, you do not need to select a power cord. But if you're ordering something other than an AA variant, you must select a power cord. And then, down at the bottom, your 17 or 21-inch monitor that you must purchase with an Advantage package. The only scenario where you can receive a 15-inch color monitor is with the prepackaged entry configuration. Otherwise, for all of our products, you must select either a 17 or 21-inch color monitor. And just to continue walking through on these configurations, there's a CAD configuration that you can get for Unix or VMS with 32 megabytes of memory, a 1 gigabyte disk, ZLXP E1 graphics, which are your 2D graphics, English documentation, and then you select your keyboard, power cord, and monitor. And then we have a multimedia configuration, which contains all of the same things with the addition of a multimedia kit, the AVP20-AA. These clear circles, these are add-on options. They are not required, but you may select any of them. And you'll notice that it's showing you how many slots they take up. And in fact, on the previous one, I think I missed mentioning that, was again, as you're going along on here, we have been told that, hey, we don't know what resources you're using up, and so we have that filled in here. We have a column that lets you know. So your memory, in which case you're taking up 1 or 2 slots. 2 slots for the 24 megabyte because it's a 16 and an 8. 1 slot for the 16, 1 slot for the 32. And so here we go. If you want to purchase additional memory, disk, we highly recommend that you purchase software documentation, the media doc kit set, that there be at least 1 per site, and storage options. And lastly, this page is left blank under SBBs because for the 4/100, there will not be any SBBs. The entry configuration is the starting point for that particular family. So there are entry configurations and application packages. Any questions about the menus? Okay. I'd like to introduce Connie Doyle, who is the AlphaStation 600 product manager, and she's going to talk about this new and exciting product that we're getting ready to announce and walk through the order menu for that.
Hi. I've been here before talking about the Alcor, which is now known as the AlphaStation 600, and there obviously have been some changes in how we're configuring systems in the SBB, so I'd like to go over that in detail. What I've listed at the top of the order menu is the changes since last time. Keyboards and power cords, as you know, are no longer included and now must be ordered as a separate line item. Mouse, CD-ROM, and audio are now included in all SBBs and packages, so this is a change. Graphics and cache are now required in both the SBB and the package, and the monitor is recommended in the SBB but required in the package. So those are the major changes that take place for the AlphaStation 600 5/266. What I've listed here is what you get in the system, and I'll go through that. This is taken from the old SoC and hope to include it in the new format. What you have is the 266 megahertz CPU. Included in the desk side enclosure, you'll have 8 I/O slots. They'll have 3 64-bit PCI, 1 32-bit PCI, 1 32-bit PCI combination with ESA, and 3 ESA slots. What's available are 5 slots. There'll be the graphics card, the I/O card, and the audio card will take up 3 of the slots. There are 5 available. There are 4 memory options. Each of those options takes up 8 slots, but to keep it clear, we're calling them memory options. So you can choose 32, 64, 128, or 256 megabyte options. There are 2 SCSI 2 controllers that are included on the I/O card, which also includes Ethernet. There's a 400 watt power supply, 2 serial ports, a parallel port, and again, the keyboard and power cord are not included. Then there'll be a floppy disk drive that will come embedded in the enclosure. Now, the difference between the SBBs and the packages are the following 4 line items. Memory, which will be included in the package only, disk in the package only, graphics in the package only, and cache in the package only. All of those are required in the SBB. Audio headset and microphone are now included. The mouse, CD-ROM are also now included. And then we have the software operating systems. And as a note, NT will be available on the Workstation 600 in the fall timeframe. So I have not included the NT software here, but I did include it in the SBB so you could have that as we will be announcing that on July 17th. And now the new format that Lisa had introduced. What we have for packages, which I'll go over first, we have 3 packages. Now these are different packages than what we had last time I did the training. The old packages will no longer be valid on July 17th. We will continue to honor the quotes that are out there. They're valid for 60 days, and we are processing those with the orders that have come through. The new packages, there'll be a Unix 2D, an OpenVMS 2D, and a Unix 3D. The packages will include 128 megabytes of memory. The old packages included 64. They both included 2 gigabytes of disk. These packages now include graphics as well as cache. The first 2 packages, the EDA packages, include 2 megabytes of cache, and the 3D package will include the 4 megabyte cache. And the graphics, the first ones include the E1 graphics, and the CAD package includes the L2 graphics. So those are differences between the packages. I'll go through the line items so you can see how the packages are configured. As Lisa mentioned, the solid squares talk about what's included in the package. So you get the CPU, the floppy, the CD-ROM, the sound card and mouse, and the Ethernet, and the operating system. I talked about 128 megs of memory, the different levels of cache that are included, the 2 gigabytes of disk, the different graphics, and the user documentation. One note on the graphics is most of the graphic cards take up 1 slot. However, the L2 graphics card takes up 2 slots. This is noted, I think on next page. Okay. Now, available resources, given the total number of slots minus what has been included here, as I said, with the 8 I/O slots, there are 5 available. So starting off with the PCI, the 64-bit PCI, we had 3 slots, 1 being taken up by the graphics. So there are 2 slots available, 1 slot for the high-end package because of the 2-card graphics. PCI, the 32-bit slot is taken up with the I/O card. There are 2 ESA slots available, one of those taken up with the audio card, and the combination slot is still available. Memory slots, there were 4. 1 is being taken up with the 128 megabyte card. One thing I'd like to mention, if a customer wants to max out at 1 gigabyte, the customer would need to order the SBB versus a package and use the 256 megabyte option and order 4 of those. The SCSI bays, there are 2 3-inch bays, there are 3 of them, 3 1/4-inch bays. There's a disc included here, so there's 2 available. And there are 2 5 1/4-inch slots. The CD-ROM takes up 1 of those, so there's 1 available. And we'll go into the external SCSI down below. One note, the 5 1/4-inch SCSI slot can be used for either a tape or a disc. There's brackets included to include a 3 1/4-inch disc, so those brackets are included. As for power cord and keyboard, the colored in circles means that it is a required option. So you need to order one of these, the LK471 for the Unix packages and the LK461 for the VMS. And U.S. customers can order the package. They don't need to order the power cord if they order the AA variant. Everybody else will have to order both the power cord and the keyboard. As for monitors, we're offering a 21-inch and a 17-inch monitor, so one of those need to be chosen. Additional memory, as I said, there's 4 memory slots, 1 is taken, so you can order up to 3. The memory options are listed here, so you have a choice of totaling those up. Additional hard drives, as I said, there was 3 slots, so there's now 2 available. unless, of course, you want to put one in the tape slot. Removable media devices, there are 2 tapes, the 8 gigabyte DAT tape and the 2 gigabyte quick tape. So that's it for packages, and now I'll talk about the SBB, which gives you a few more options. Okay, base configurations, there'll be 3, one for each operating system. There's a PB62A-AA for Unix, -BA for VMS, and -CA for NT, which I said will be available in the fall, but will be announced on the 17th. You'll get the CPU, the floppy, the CD-ROM, the audio card, the mouse, Ethernet. There'll be an integration service charge, operating system, and user documentation. You'll have the more resources because the options have not been chosen for you. So you'll have one more of each of the slots that I mentioned before. As for memory, again, you have to choose one of the memory options. You have to choose a cache. You have a choice between a 2 meg cache or a 4 meg cache. You have to choose one of the drives, the disk drives. There's a 1 gig, 2 gig, and 4 gigabyte wide drives. This is denoted by the W in the part number. Graphics is also a required option. We have the ZLX1, E1, E2, and E3, the 8-plane, 24-plane, and 24-plane Z buffer. And then the LX, the L1 and L2 cards, 24-plane, and actually they're both 24-plane. But this one taking up the 2 PCI slots. Now the monitors are recommended on the SBB, so you have the choice again of those 2, and that's why you have the open circle. Then we have the power cord and keyboard, again that's required. Get the same removable media devices, and then additional options will be included in a separate section. We have expansion boxes. We have a BA350 and a 353, which are narrow. And then we have the BA356, which takes wide drives. We have a couple of tabletop expansion boxes. We have the 8 gigabyte tape drive that sits on the tabletop, the CD-ROM, and the quick tape. The DAT tape will also sit on there. There are some cable restrictions with this, and those are listed below, and it tells you which cable you need to order if you're going to either add narrow devices or wide devices.
What about the tapes? Do we need to add a cable for the tapes?
If you're doing a tabletop expansion, you need to add the BN 21H-01, and because they're narrow, if they're going to be a tabletop expansion, there's a meter limitation to the cable coming out. There's 2 SCSI ports coming out the box. First one is narrow, the second one is wide. So if you use the second port coming out, then you need to order the BN 21K-01. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is the upgrade that we'll be offering. On July 17th, we're going to be announcing the opportunity for customers to upgrade to the 300 megahertz system. Customers will be able to order the PB62U-AA. This will be a board upgrade, so customers who have the 266 megahertz system can upgrade their system to 300 megahertz. Customers will have a no penalty opportunity to order this card up until September, and after that time frame, we'll be offering the 300 megahertz system when we have the 300 megahertz chips available in volume.
Okay. All right, thanks, Connie. Great job. The Alpha Station 200 /166 /233 and the Alpha Station 250 have similar menus to what we've already gone through. You would read them in exactly the same way. So what we thought we would do now is move on to the options section. The way that this new SoC is packaged is first we'll have all of our Alpha Station 200s together, then our Alpha Station 250, then the Alpha Station 600, and then we'll come an options section that is common to all of the Workstation products. So, taking a look at that, the available keyboards that someone can order for their workstations are listed below, the country-specific one. And you'll note that we have the PC-style keyboards that are good for all 3 operating systems, and the VMS-style 461 keyboards for those who desire it. And there are 2 pages of that, also goes on to United Kingdom and Yugoslavia. One page of power cords. And these are the standard power cords that all of you have worked with in the past. And we have our monitors. We will be removing the 15-inch monitor from this section, as that will only be available in the prepackaged entry configuration for the AlphaStation 4/100, the 204/100. So that will not be available as an option. What we will have available are the 17 and 21-inch monitors, and down below is the memory that is specific to the various workstations that you can purchase. You will notice that at the top of the page, we list the particular workstation products, so we have columns for each of those, and then whether a particular option is available, and if it is, what the part number is, and the description. You can just find your way right through this matrix. A little bit more memory on the next page, as well as the Alcor specific cache. Storage products. We have our StorageWorks enclosures, which is the only external enclosure that we are supporting. And then the various storage products, be they your floppy, CD-ROMs, disk, tape, what they are, which platform they're supported on. We will be removing from here the 340 megabyte and the half gigabyte drives. The only way you can get a half gigabyte drive will be with a packaged configuration. Your graphics options. The ATI Mach 64 graphics, which is your PB2GA-FA, is only available on the AlphaStation 200 4/100. That is something new from what we had been doing previously. The remaining ZLX graphics are available. And there are some new multimedia packages, and those are listed as well. And here are the communication options that we support. And those are all the critical options for Workstation. Now, as a courtesy, because in the past we've included this type of information in the SOC, we will continue to make it easier for people with their ordering processes. Among those are your service options. Our workstations all come bundled. They continue to, as we have been for a while now, with the 3-year warranty, the 1-year on-site, years 2 and 3 return to digital hardware warranty. But if people would require supplemental services, then here's where they are for hardware and software. Various software, media, and dock kits. And more of the same. You'll note that all of our workstations, except for the AlphaStation 600, are software processor code E, and the Alcor AlphaStation 600 is processor code G. And some layered software to communicate, a new multimedia product, and user documentation in various languages, what's available, part numbers for those. So that will all be included as well in the options section. By having one common options section, it allows us to consolidate all the information in one place. It should hopefully make the ordering process go easier. Are there any questions about options?
Will any of these have to be coded as spares if they're on the order?
If you do not want it integrated in a customer order, then you code it as a spare. Same business as usual practice.
Some of the media kits, like replacement headphones and things like that, we wouldn't expect that they would be installed on the system. Would we have to specifically spare that line on the order?
Yes. Anything else? Okay, Dave's going to come up and talk about the distributor.
Good morning again. I wanted to spend a bit more time to talk about the distributor packages and the business conditions of why we're going in that direction. And again, this is unique to the workstations only. AlphaStations, this does not apply to any of the Bird products that we have in the workstation group and or any of the servers. Everything you've seen this morning applies to AlphaStations only, not to Alpha servers, either in the mid-range and or at the low end. This is only the workstation business segment. The key reasons that we were looking at working with distributors are many, but one of the business conditions that they're presented to us on numerous times is that we want them to stock. We want and they want to stock the stock inventory of our top products. They want to offer a quick 24-hour demand, if you would, to requirements. They're looking at custom integration of disk, memory, and applications as is required by the customer base. They also want to ship. We want them to ship fully integrated, ready-to-run systems, and that inventory turns are basic to their profit margin in order for them to have their best business deal. And we want to also stop the return, if you would, of fully configured systems back to digital, which don't wind up going out as remanufactured. The new SoC for distributors is very, very similar to what you've seen in the 200, 100 AlphaStation package, as well as Alcor, and that is we will have 4 different part numbers which will be available for distributors. Those part numbers are the PD001-AA, BA, CA, DA, which coincide with the AlphaStation 200-4166, 4233, 4266, and the 600 product, the Alcor. Included in the SPB, different than you see in the SPB of the normal product, is the operating system is not included. That's a separate line item. This allows the distributor to stock this inventory as hardware and to apply the operating system after the fact, based on customer demand. Included in the SBB are the following requirements. One is that there'll be the common CPU enclosure, power supply, etc. They will have a floppy disk. There'll be a CD-ROM. There'll be sound cards, a 3-button mouse, and user documentation in English. And then the available resources, if you would, for each one of the systems. This is not filled in because it's currently under revision. However, they will be required to order memory, 32 megabytes of memory. These will be Unix and BMS systems only. There will be no Windows NT version of the distributor packages. The minimum memory that will be required is 32 megabytes of memory. The part numbers will be listed across, if you would, the 4 different configurations. as well as a minimum requirement of cache in the Alcor family. And then there'll be internal storage, and again, the minimum requirement is a 1 gigabyte storage disk in order for us to fizz Unix on.
Can you only add one cache option? Is that either or?
Either or, there's only one. It's not an upgradable option. So there's only one slot. It's either 2 meg or 1 meg.
204.
204, sorry, 204, yeah. In addition, the distributors will be required to order a keyboard and cable for the European and APA countries and the US. In ordering the LK471 or LK461, the cable for the CPU will come enclosed. And then they can order on the same order, if they desire, the QP part numbers, which represent the operating system packs. However, it could be ordered on a separate order in order for them to inventory in their own stocking methodology. They also could order monitors on the same order, or they could order them on a different deck number. And they could order graphics on the same order or on a different deck number. It's not required as the minimum requirement for the SBB for the distributor packages. Again, I just wanted to go over one more time the business rules for the distributor packaging. And again, we're putting this in place for them to stock inventory at the lowest possible level and then to fulfill customer orders on an immediate demand cycle. All system orders shipped to distributors, from distributors to the end user will be fully integrated, and they must include the digital systems operating system package, that's the QP part numbers that you saw on the previous order menu. They must include graphics, disk, memory, keyboard, and power cord provided by digital. And they will be fully integrated, so there will be no spared options, if you would, going on to the end user. We're looking at the distributor to be, if you would, a reflection of our high volume manufacturing capability. Digital manufacturing will fizz DEC Unix as the default, all right, for all distributor systems, and that's why a disk is required.